And it's time for us to, I think, consider this change deliberately rather than reactively.
People all over the world come immediately to an agreement, a consensus. 3/4 typically will vote. We're in our teenage years as a human family.
Dolphins did not live on this planet, did not survive on this planet for up to 40 million years by being independent creatures.
What is happening? Something is going on. Can you feel the way?
I'm a writer and a psychotherapist and a person who's been around the block a few times, I guess. You know, my writing Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight came about as a consequence of my concern for the world that my children are going to inherit. We have 3 kids who are all now of childbearing age, and what kind of world will their children and their children's children end up with? And the more I looked around and learned about the state of things, the more concerned I became. And so I began digging into the literature of ecology and economics and, you know, structural things, trying to figure out what's going on and what should we be doing about it. And repeatedly I found books that would talk about problem solution. You know, too many people, we need birth control. Too much carbon, we need carbon taxes, so on. Too much toxic waste, we need stronger regulations. But it seemed to me, while all those things are right and appropriate and good, but it seemed to me that we may be, to a substantial extent in that regard, be looking at symptom rather than cause.
Well, I've been very interested over the years trying to understand the human journey and where are we on this journey? Who are we? What are we doing here? And so I've been going around the world talking to people about this journey. And in meeting with people in all kinds of settings, I have asked them before I start talking to tell me what they think about where we are in terms of our behavior. In other words, if we look at the behavior of the human family, are we acting like toddlers? Are we acting like teenagers? Are we acting like adults or someone in their old age? And interestingly, whether I've asked this in India, in Europe, in the United States, people all over the world come immediately to an agreement, a consensus. 3/4 typically will vote. We're in our teenage years as a human family.
I was a kid living in Okinawa, and I was about 13, and I remember traveling up to Nago Bay, and I watched a bay full of dolphins and pilot whales get caught by some fishermen, and then they speared them to death. And it made me go numb. I saw this bay full of blood, and it really impacted me in a really deep way. And trying to understand my reaction to that, I studied as many things as I could about dolphins and whales. And of course, in the process of that, I read all of John Lilly's books, and I eventually ended up hooking up with him. Dr. John C. Lilly was a maverick that highly academic focus that had a PhD and an MD. And he was very interested in the way the mind worked and very interested in consciousness. So he's credited with things like the isolation tank, which he built in, I think, as early as 1954. So he was definitely into the frontiers of consciousness in terms of exploring where the mind could go.